This is a paint to sample Oak Green Neo Porsche 992.2 911 Touring, and it's about to get a bespoke status detail. And if you're new to the channel, you're probably thinking, who is the status detail guy? I started status with the goal of being the best, being the pinnacle of automotive detailing. That's not really for me to decide though, more like for you to decide. So I'll tell you what, watch the video and leave a comment below. Let me know if I've reached my goal. Trust me, I'll give you all the evidence you'll need. I filmed as much as I could of nearly 100-hour detail. The final result was, well, a masterpiece. A dream come true for every car enthusiast who seeks perfection. But you won't be able to fully appreciate the masterpiece until you see how it all started. The detail process starts typically with a delivery, because almost all of my customers are out of state. This car was shipped all the way from New York to the Chicagoland area to receive its status detail. Unlimited Auto helped get the car from New York, and you can see their trailer is super awesome. And as you'll see the car slowly roll out of the trailer, this was the first time I was seeing Oak Green Neo, a paint to sample Porsche color that is absolutely incredible. You can see all that metallic flake in the paint, and it's just such a cool color. Once the car was fully out of the trailer and I could really get a look at this amazing Oak Green Neo color, I also started to see all the imperfections, especially the ones that were in the hood. More on that later. Alright, let's pull it inside and begin the over week-long process of making this car perfect. You'll notice it still has all the factory delivery wrap on the inside, which is how we like the cars to be transported to us, and you'll also notice it only had 15 miles. For anyone that wants to look over the window sticker, you can pause on any of these shots and take a look, but you can see it did have a $300,000 window sticker. Just got the 992.2 into the garage. This thing is brand spanking new. Barely any of these have been delivered, so I'm just going to do a quick walk around of like an inspection of the car. When cars are delivered, especially when they're relatively clean like this one, I like to kind of look over the whole car. I want to see what I can find, what problems there are, what's going to need to be addressed, but especially on this car because it's the .2, it has a new back bumper and a new front bumper. Throughout this process I found many things, including a bunch of compound jammed into the tow hook area, the standard adhesive that almost all of these cars have on the front bumper where there is a foam bumper pad, and you get a similar issue on the driver door. When they peel off these stickers, there's usually a lot of residue left behind on the door. There are similar stickers on the roof, and they typically leave residue as well. You will notice two different lights here and two different color temperature bulbs. You're probably thinking, look at this guy showing off with his two lights. And while that might be technically a little bit true, I do have to convince you I'm the best, remember? Jokes aside, the different color temperature lights will actually show different defects in the car, almost like a magic trick. Now this is mostly just interesting to see on camera, but it's important to mention that because some lights will show different defects. It will make me be able to chase that 1% when doing the paint correction. After the paint correction, one light might show that I fixed everything, while the other light might show that I missed 1 or 2% of some of the finer swirl marks. Now the majority of the issues on this car are what we call swirl marks, or to be a little more specific, buffing holograms. This happens when someone polishes or paint corrects a car with improper technique. I've talked about this a lot on this YouTube channel because it's so common on all the new cars. And for the first time later in this video, I'm going to go pretty in-depth and explain why this kind of defect happens. You'll also notice that the flashlights help us see that adhesive really easily now with the flashlight. It was pretty hard to see some of this stuff with the lights on, but with the lights off and a flashlight, it really helps me see it. So this is a really important phase to do quality control and see what I've got for problems and how I'm going to fix them. Well, I don't think that surprised anyone. At least it didn't surprise me, and it didn't surprise any followers of this YouTube channel. If you're new to the channel, maybe check out that subscribe button below, hit the bell, get some notifications on the videos that are coming up soon. But yeah, all these Porsches almost always have issues. For some reason, the GT cars almost always have issues. It's like, I don't think I've ever seen one without it. I still have one last step before I get into my paint correction, and that's going to be removing all the factory PPF on the car, and in this case there's only two pieces and they're both on the quarter panel. This spot on the car gets so much damage that Porsche was smart enough to put some protection here, but it's not a big enough piece and it's not enough. So we're going to do full body PPF on the car, but then we're also going to double layer PPF this area with a bigger, better coverage custom piece that I'll show you later in the video. And while I was at it, I removed a couple other small stickers that were also still on the car. So there's different ways to remove the residue that's like the adhesive residue from the delivery wrap from things like this. I've shown in other videos using Geon Tar, which is a great way to do it, but this also works. This is CarPro Ultra Cut. This is really, this is just really strong compound. And I'm just going to work it by hand, honestly, pretty gently, and it's just going to completely remove it. So you see I can put some residue there, and it almost acts like clay bar. Just gonna pull all this stuff off really effortlessly. All right, one last feel. Yeah, perfect. We got all of it off. I'm just gonna rinse and repeat the same thing up here. There's adhesive up here. Now, if you're not pretty meticulous in finding this stuff and fixing this stuff, what's gonna happen is you're gonna miss it. And when you're doing your paint protection film, this stuff is gonna show up as dust or dirt in your film, and it's gonna drive you crazy, or it's gonna ruin an entire piece of film. And if it was this piece, it's gonna ruin the whole quarter panel, which is the most expensive piece on the car I have to do. I showed earlier, there was a bunch of compound in this area, probably from when they destroyed the front of this car with a rotary polisher. So if you push down on this, it should pop out. I'm not going to take it all the way out, but the point is I'm going to get in here now and clean out this compound. Sometimes this stuff gets a little crusty and it doesn't blow out with a pressure washer. So you actually have to go in here and like manually kind of scrub it out. So yeah, man, all these little details in the beginning, they matter, they add up. This is the quality control. Before we even almost start the checks and balances and quality control, it all starts. Paint correction is complicated, and it's way more complicated than just do you want a one-step or a two-step. That is oversimplified for what paint correction really is at a high level. The higher the paint correction package, the more time I'm going to spend on getting defects out. And once I've gotten the defects out, I'm going to spend time on just maximizing gloss. I want the car to be as shiny as possible. Some shops actually do like 2 passes, or they do a compound and a polish, and that's a 2-step. But again, that's like not how this should be sold to people. When you're doing paint correction the correct way, the way we do it, we're doing as many passes with as many different techniques and processes as we need to make the paint perfect. That could mean 10 steps, 2 steps, it just depends on what's going on. And then once we get the paint perfect, we focus on gloss and maximizing that gloss. The paint correction step truly is probably the most important step in the entire process. If we get this part wrong, we're going to end up having a lot of issues during the paint protection film installation. More importantly, this is when we find all of the defects in the car. We can fix all of those and then maximize the gloss and really make the car look incredible. Dealerships and manufacturers just don't offer this, so it's not being done on any car unless it's going to a detailer before the paint protection film goes on. It's one of the main reasons you don't want a dealership to do your paint protection film, because they're just going to completely skip this step. Once we have this all completed and the car is perfect, we have the perfect foundation to start the paint protection film process. In the before and after shots here, you can see we get basically all of the defects out, but we also have a very strong emphasis on making sure the clear coat is still strong and very durable, meaning we do the maximum amount of paint correction that we can do to get the defects out while also not removing too much clear coat to the point where it makes anything dangerous. On a car like this, it could be polished another 5, 10, even 15 times if you're doing the process safely and correctly. So we still have a ton of clear coat on the car. Buffing holograms are kind of a weird thing, and I talk a lot about them on this YouTube channel. This is the dual action polisher. If you look closely, it's going to basically spin, and then it's going to be doing like a secondary spin within that spin. You look straight in the center of this like hole in the center, you'll see how it's not going to just spin in a circle, it's going to do like a circle within a circle, which really is like a 21mm throw. You can see that it spins, right? But it can also do this and also do this. This whole thing can spin. So it's like 2 actions of spinning, which is like a dual action. The rotary just spins. To simplify this, this builds heat more, it corrects faster, and in the wrong hands, it will ultimately make holograms, because of basically it's like transferring friction and heat into the panel in a way that makes those holograms. To keep things short, because I could talk about this for 10 minutes, and I literally just did it for 10 minutes, and I did a take, and I realized it was too long. So to keep this short for you guys, manufacturers are using rotaries on the manufacturing line, and it's why you're getting holograms in the cars. Manufacturers should stop using these. They're very precise scalpel type tools. There are ways you can use this tool and not cause holograms, but the training that is needed is extensive, in my opinion, to use this correctly. This is great for removing sanding marks, which they are probably using it for. But once they've finished doing that, they should use a dual action polisher, like a 21mm dual action polisher on hoods and quarter panels and bumpers and things that are large enough to accept it. And then they should fix the sanding mark with this. They are removing the sanding mark, and then they're removing the rest of that sanding mark with this again, and it's creating what we call a detailer's signature or a hologram, because, you know, it's a detailer's signature because they left a signature on the car of someone attempting to fix something. So yeah, they're using the wrong stuff. They should be using DAs. One of the reasons that people ship cars to me in particular is because I have so much experience with paint correction and I have so much experience with Porsche paint now that I guarantee I can get your car perfect. And if you don't believe that, go watch the Sport Classic video where I wet sanded almost 60% of the car to fix all the defects on that. That was a really extreme case. The point I'm trying to drive home here is these cars aren't finished, they're not complete, they're not perfect until they've been to a person like me or, you know, me, because you need to get the final paint correction in to make the car perfect, to make it new. And if you're not getting that, then you're getting an unfinished product from the manufacturer because they clearly can't finish it correctly, and that's why these cars come with so many issues on the paint. I'm using Brake Buster on the wheels here. The car obviously had pretty clean wheels considering it arrived with 15 miles on it. So in my second and final wash here, I'm cleaning the wheels for the first time. Brake Buster is safe on carbon ceramic brakes and steel brakes too. It's a great tire cleaner as well. Once the wheel is clean and still wet, I use CarPro Hydro Light. You can also use Wet Coat from Geon. They're virtually the same products, just spray it on and rinse it off. When the wheels are clean, it gives an instant hydrophobic effect, and it's something I highly recommend you do during your weekly or monthly washes. Now, this wash is extremely important. I don't want to keep saying over and over and over that every step is the most important step, but the reality is all of the steps are individually extremely important because they come together as this synergy of a system that just works. When you take one of these steps out, you end up having a lot of issues. This step simply cannot be rushed. So we're going to go pretty slowly. I always work in the shade. I typically do this part of the wash in the end of the day when the temperature drops a little bit so I can work longer without having the water or the soap dry out on the car. I want the dwell time of the soap to be very long. Lately I've been using Green Star from Gtechniq, and it's been amazing at really stripping all the polishing oils and just doing one last kind of strip of the entire car to make sure that we're just working with bare paint. Since I've switched to using Green Star, we have noticed that our adhesive in our PPF is sticking really aggressively, which is awesome, and it makes the film way more durable. It makes edges not want to lift, and it simply makes the install process really smooth and efficient. You'll notice as I'm rinsing the car that all the water is very flat. If we're seeing the water bead, that's kind of an indicator that there's either polishing oil still on the car or potentially a previous ceramic coating or polymer-based sealant or wax. This is kind of a bad sign because it's going to mean the adhesive in the film might struggle to stick to the car. You're also going to see me rinsing really methodically. I'm going after all these little seams and creases in the car, all the parts where there's like gaps in the bodywork. All of these places are where dirt and dust and debris are going to hide, and they're going to want to slowly leak out of those panels when I'm doing the paint protection film, which can cause a lot of problems. So I'm really going to rinse slow and methodical. I'm going to put a ton of water into anything where there's a gap or a seal or a panel gap. I want to make sure that I've rinsed and flushed all of the potential debris and dirt out of these areas. Again, that makes the installation go so much smoother, and this is like the final quality control of making sure that I don't have issues in the next step, which is when I start paint protection film. The final step of the wash is to blow dry the car. Now again, this is going to take me a really long time. If the car was hydrophobic and ceramic coated, for example, I could blow dry the car in just a few minutes. Once I've gotten literally as much water as humanly possible off the car, I'm coming back with a microfiber towel that is brand new, straight out of the package, and I sprayed this towel with more Geon Prep, which has got a lot of alcohol in it. So it's going to do one last final pass to basically make sure that this is perfect bare paint, and it's like my final QC. Because the paint correction process is such a dusty, dirty process, it obviously gets dust all over the car, which is why we washed it, but it also gets dust over the entire room that I'm working in. So I spray water down, and then I squeegee it out, and I also clean off all my kind of countertop areas. I don't want any dust in here. At this point, the car and the room are going to be like surgically ready for paint protection film, and paint protection film is kind of like surgery, so we want a clean area. All right, I want to show everybody a trick. So We pull these out to PPF really seamlessly. If you do it the wrong way, it'll kind of come out like a banana and it's real hard to put back in. If you wash the car before you do PPF, which obviously you should do, there's a lot of water in here and it's going to come out effortlessly. So pull these out right after your wash and you'll see I'm going to like barely struggle with this at all. It's going to pop literally right out. And then you pull back a little bit, slide out the front. And it pops right out, and you can tell this is still like completely flat, and it's good to go. Ah, now the party can start, the PPF section of the video. By party, I really mean mental gymnastics. Actually, no, it's more like mental terrorism. I mean, at least every PPF installer is wrapping up at least 1 or 2 days a month, kinda like this. Jokes aside, PPF is extremely difficult to do perfectly, but we chase perfection, and that's why our sanity has left the shed. You can see I'm kind of scoring the PPF here with a knife and then I'm going to peel it back. We're not cutting all the way through, we were just scoring it and then peeling it back. We're doing this because we need that area to be like more loose, to have less tension in it. A good PPF install is all about basically making the film contour to the panel before you start squeegeeing. So you can see Obed kind of got this set up pretty good and then he's squeegeeing it down. When he runs into some issues in a spot in a second, we're going to use something called tack solution to make the film stick. We use something called slip solution and tack solution. Slip solution is basically just baby soap and water, and then you're seeing the tack solution being sprayed in here. This basically makes the adhesive stick. It like activates the adhesive and makes it stick right away. Tack solution is isopropyl alcohol and water mixed at a really particular ratio. But you can see once that tack solution goes in, it just sucks it down and makes it stick perfectly in that area. PPF installation is a lot of balance between making your slip solution work for you and then making your tack solution work for you. In this area, you'll see there's a lot of stretch downward because again, we're having to make this contour. If I just kind of laid that against the car, it's never going to go onto the car or stick correctly. So you have to make that film contour, and this is one of the more tricky parts to do by yourself if you're doing total solo PPF. Now, I've done that before, but it's always nice to have 2 sets of hands here instead of just 1 set. We also want all of our cuts to be ultra precise, so sometimes we'll even use a light like this so we can really see the dark area where that weather stripping seam is, so we can make it really, really precise. Now, something I do that lots of other people don't do is that we wrap the door jamb fully. Some people do this in 2 pieces with a seam, which is an okay way to do it, but we do it with 1 piece. Now, most people that plot would save some of the film that was in the door area, but I keep all of that and run the seamless piece into the door jamb and underneath that piece of plastic. I think this is the nicest way to do it. The only downside is it's not so great for me in the sense that it uses a lot of material. So that's the #1 thing that most PPF people that watch my videos comment on, but we don't really care about the cost, we care about the best installation, and that's one of the biggest differences between the status detail and somebody else. You'll also see that we wrap and tuck everything. That's another big difference because this is really time consuming to do, and you have to be ultra precise with manual hand cut edges when we're pushing all these things down. If you were to plot this, the only way to do this correctly would be to extend all the edges, and you're still going to end up manually cutting everything. Simply put, this just makes for a really clean installation because when all this is going to be done, you're just not going to see those edges. Now, some edges like these are unavoidable because you just can't wrap this. If you took the bumper off and then put this film underneath that area, it would basically just work itself back out over time. So these cuts just need to be ultra precise and straight and look as if someone plotted it. These quarter panels are ultimately not that difficult for someone who is a seasoned PPF installer, but the risk is always there, which always makes these a little bit scary. So there are lots of things that are technically outside of our control that can happen during an installation that even on an easy panel can result in catastrophic stuff that will make us want to bang our head against the wall. A good example of this is you could do everything correctly and then 3 hours later notice there's a hair in a really bad spot and know you have to redo the panel, but that hair was invisible because it was basically encapsulated in some water when you installed it, and it took time for that to evaporate, and when it evaporates you see it. That's not really the installer's fault. That's just called bad luck. It's also called losing like $500 on a quarter panel and having to spend all the time and effort to redo it. That is something that will ruin your day almost every single time if you're a PPF installer. This customer wanted to add this silver vinyl on the outside of the car, which matches the silver accents of the car beautifully, but the reason we're doing this first is because the car is going to get so many rock chips in this area that we really want the film to be on top of this, so ultimately it'll be protected, plus all the edges will never want to peel up during a wash, which is a super big bonus. It's important to note this is only really possible on glossy vinyl. If it's matte vinyl, you will need to put the vinyl on top. Now, because we want the most seamless installation possible, we're going to berth the mirrors, which basically means I'm pre-cutting this with this crazy template that I made, and we're actually going to slip this entire piece of film over that mirror and then put it on the car, and that's going to result in no vertical seam above the mirror, which is relatively common on installations like this. Now, this isn't that hard, again, once you've done it, but I've taught Obed how to do this, and it is relatively hard to teach someone. So some of this stuff is easy to me because I've just kind of been doing it for so long. As I'm now teaching Obed how to do things, I'm starting to learn, like, actually a lot of these things are pretty complicated to do. I'm just so used to doing things that are so difficult that I've actually gotten so, like, accustomed to it that it's pretty easy for me. So it's been really interesting teaching Obed how to do things because I'm kind of realizing how complicated some of the things that I do are, because I've literally told him, oh yeah, it's easy, just, you do this and you pull it over. And then he ripped like 4 doors in a row. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess what I'm doing is a little more complicated than just, just pull it over. So you'll see here now I'm kind of walking Obed through this, and I'm always with Obed when he's learning, and you can see he's slipping that over, and he did a perfect job. You can see me in the background kind of coaching, and I'm always going to be standing literally right next to him and helping him learn. He's already very, very talented at doing PPF, and he's very, very good at cutting, and cutting is probably one of the hardest parts to learn. So he already has that like totally figured out, which is awesome. I'm kind of doing like advanced PPF training with him now, because like berthing a mirror, for example, is not a standard thing. That's pretty advanced. I'm pretty sure Obed watches the videos, so I hope he is watching this video so he knows he's doing a super awesome job. I've been really enjoying training him, because training is kind of this new adventure for me, and you're just doing a terrific job, and it was super awesome to watch you berth that mirror again while I was editing this video. And again, panels like this hood are relatively easy. They require virtually no stretch at all, but panels that are really large have high chance of like little specks of dust or visual imperfections or defects, so they're still a little scary to do. This particular hood has these 2 vents in it, and again, we put this down with no seams, no relief cuts. It's just down in one piece, which is very, very difficult to do. Now, this fender is pretty difficult to do. It might maybe be one of the most difficult panels on the car to do when you do it the way that I'm doing it, because the fender wraps all the way around the headlight. It makes it pretty complicated to do this in one piece. It makes it really, really complicated to do it with no adhesive lines or just kind of work marks in the panel. You need to absolutely master stretching PPF to do this the way I do it, because the more you stretch the film, the thinner the film gets. The thinner the film gets, the less pressure you have to use with your knife when you're cutting. You're also cutting on a headlight that's very expensive, so if you make any mistakes, well, you're going to buy the customer a headlight, so you better do it perfectly. After the paint protection film is done, the last step that we do to the painted areas of the car are to ceramic coat it. Now, a lot of people think the ceramic coating should go underneath the PPF, but you have to remember, guys, ceramic coatings have wonderful attributes to them, like they make the car extremely shiny, which theoretically it would make the car shiny if it was underneath the film, but it would also make the film not stick to the car. Remember how important all the prep steps were that we talked about? How I wanted the water to be flat so the adhesive would stick to the car really aggressively, which ultimately makes the film look better and makes the edges not want to peel. So you would never want to ceramic coat the paint first, because that would just undo all of the steps we did to prep the car. Now, more importantly than that, we want all the real attributes of the ceramic coating to be on the top. We want the car to be really, really hydrophobic. Hydrophobic cars stay cleaner longer, but they're also very easy to wash, and they're going to be very easy to dry. If I had theoretically put the ceramic on first, it would not have those attributes because the film would be covering all of that up. I also want to treat my PPF like it is paint. I don't want to just kind of use and abuse the PPF like body armor. The ceramic coating is also going to help the car just make it so much easier to clean, which is important for anywhere where there is exposed edges. It's going to make it way less likely for those edges to get really, really dirty, and it's going to make them easier to clean. So your maintenance ongoing on the car is going to be so much easier on a ceramic coated car. All the delivery wrap that's on a car is to basically keep it safe when it's in transit to the owner. Now, the majority of the customers that come to Status Detail are all out of state. This means that once the car is delivered to the dealership, it's really not technically been delivered yet. It still has to be delivered to Status Detail, which means all of the delivery wrap stuff in the car should remain in the car until it reaches us. Then we can dial the car into perfection, make it all look amazing and better than been brand new, then we remove all the delivery wrap so the customer can actually properly take delivery of a brand new car that has actually been detailed versus what the dealership would have delivered, which would have been, in my opinion, an unfinished product, mainly from a paint perspective. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, we always want you guys to keep the seat covers and steering wheel covers that come in the car. They're wonderful to put in the car when you go in for any kind of service or maintenance. You know, dealerships and service areas are not always the cleanest place in the world. So having this stuff to put back in the car is one extra step that can keep your car clean. If you want something like this in a car because you got rid of that already, or maybe you have a used car and just never had the opportunity to keep it, just jump on Amazon. You can buy like 25, 50, and 100 packs of basically like seat covers and steering wheel covers. These are really wonderful, disposable, nice things to have when the car has to go somewhere. This car had really awesome floor mats. They're kind of like carbon fiber weave mixed with some leather on the floor mat. Really awesome. I don't know what it is about removing these little panels, but it seems to me that everybody likes watching me remove these. And this was a weird one. There was literally like just a big piece of tape on the driver window. I'd never really seen this one before, and it left a whole lot of residue when I pulled it off. So yeah, I don't know what the story was behind that. I've done a lot of 911s and just a lot of Porsches in general, and I've never seen this weird piece of tape on the glass. All right, guys, my last video I screwed this up. I even said it was easy to screw up, and then I screwed it up. You want PO. It's a green label. PO is Pole Star. Green Star also has a green label. Green Star is basically only exterior use, in my opinion. Pole Star, interior use. Alcantara, leather, this is what you want. You dilute this. This is way too strong to use straight out of the bottle. So you're going to dilute this. See, I wrote Pole Star on this IK bottle. I sell these on the store. They're great sprayers, really wide bottoms, will never tip over. And you're going to dilute it into here for the ratio that you need to clean, light cleaning, heavy cleaning, stuff like that. Let's get into it. People love to comment all kinds of ridiculous things on my videos, but one of my favorite ones is that people say, the car is brand new, why are you cleaning the leather? Now, lots of our customers actually say, you know, oh, the car is brand new, like it doesn't need a leather cleaning. Well, I'm here to tell you it does need a leather cleaning, and I've even got factual photo evidence of why you're going to need it, and I'm going to show that to you in a second. But guys, you have to remember, these cars are brand new, yes, but they've never been cleaned on the inside. So when they go through a manufacturing plant and when they actually lay the leather out and they're, you know, sewing it together and putting it all together, like, the leather has clearly never been properly cleaned. And that's why we clean the leather before we do any kind of ceramic coatings, because we want to make sure everything is clean. We don't want any residue from any part of the process to be on there and then put ceramic coatings over that. We want perfect, naturally clean, bare leather, just like we wanted perfect, bare paint before we did the paint protection film. On a quick side note, what do you guys think of the 992.2 seat? It's pretty dramatically different than the 992 seat. And honestly, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's just so different and so new that I'm not sure kind of what to think about it. I think ultimately it's a pretty cool looking seat. It's also cool that that headrest pops out, so you can like wear a race car helmet and not have an issue with the headrest, which is a really awesome, thoughtful idea behind that part of the seat. But yeah, I think ultimately I like it. It's just so different. I'm just so not used to seeing this thing. And here you go, guys. This shows everything you need to see. This is why we clean brand new cars. That is a brand new microfiber towel, and that's after I cleaned all of the leather on the inside of the car. You can see that is not a clean towel anymore. That's how much dirt is in your brand new car with 15 miles on it. In my last video, I talked about Built Hamber Traceless. It's the best glass cleaner I've ever found. It's amazing, and in this video, I'm actually using it in the video. In the last video, I talked about it, but I was actually using Geon Prep. In this video, I'm talking about it still, but I'm actually using Traceless in the video. The product is so good that it only actually has one problem, and it's literally, and this isn't really an advertisement, it's literally that I cannot keep it in stock. It's out of stock. It went out of stock almost immediately after that last video came out, and now it's saying it's going to be back in stock 9/5/25. So when it is back in stock, because if you go to my website, it's going to show out of stock right now. When it is back in stock, I highly recommend you buy either a gallon or buy at least 2 bottles of the normal spray bottle size, because I highly expect this to go out of stock literally almost immediately again. I'm telling you, this stuff is really, really good, and it went out of stock for a reason, and it went out of stock literally almost immediately after the video came out. The spec on this car, by the way, was super cool, and it was basically optioned all the way out. It's got these crazy carbon seats, and then it also had the leather package that was similar to the last Touring that I showed. This is just the Dot 2, but he had the leather like almost everywhere, where I think it's like called an extended leather package with the steering column and the vents, and it's everywhere, which is such a cool touch on a Touring in my opinion. This textured dash is also something that's exclusive to the Touring, so this is another kind of cool touch for Tourings. When I started the business in my dad's garage over 10 years ago, I didn't have the skills and knowledge to do a detail like this. In fact, I had no idea a detail like this even existed. I was never really big on school or studying, but I think the issue was I just didn't have the subject matter that I really felt like it was worth diving into until I started this business. Because at that point, I spent 365 days a year studying everything I could about detailing. It became an obsession. How can I be better than yesterday? How can I learn more? What new skill can I learn? How many products do I need to try before I find the best version? Then came the really hard part, learning PPF. I mean, that part almost broke me. It was, and still is, a crazy mental and physical journey. It's rare you find a company that has the skill sets that Status offers. It's practically unheard of to have those skill sets in nearly every aspect of the detail process, including PPF. It's even more rare you find one person who has acquired and mastered all of those skill sets. Actually, I think I can sum this up basically pretty perfectly for you. It's kind of like this. What I'm trying to say is, it's not just about having the skill set, it's about having the stamina to learn the skill set. So what do you think? Did we accomplish it? Did we reach our goal? Did I pull off one of the best details you've ever watched on YouTube? I sure hope we did, because you have to decide. Branding for a company is not what I say a company is. It's much more about what you say the company is. The best I can do is put all the information and facts in a video and let you decide. What I do know for a fact is that we have some of the best fans and subscribers in the automotive YouTube space. I'm about to hit 35,000 subs, and we're pushing real hard to hit 100,000 and get that silver play button. If you made it this far in the video, I hope you consider subscribing and joining the journey to 100,000 subscribers. If you're an existing follower, one of the best things you can do is share this video with car enthusiasts that will love it. Share it on a Porsche forum or a car forum or even on Facebook. For anyone that's curious, and I'm pretty sure that's most of you, this was the cost breakdown to this detail. The bespoke Status package was $4,500, and that is the best I offer currently. Full body STEK or STEK PPF was $9,000. $200 per side for the vinyl installation for a total of $400. $400 for the custom rocker panel double layers, that's including both sides, for a total of $14,100 for this Status detail. Enclosed shipping costs to and from New York was around $2,300 each for a total of $4,600 in shipping, and that gives us a grand total of $18,700, which might have made this one of the most expensive details I've ever done for a customer. We also have lots of customers ship the car to us, then drive the car home to keep some value on shipping. Honestly, I think that's one of my favorite options, because that way you get to experience the car with protection and break it in, plus we get to meet the owners. If you're interested in a Status detail, please just reach out. You can call, text, or email. All the contact info is on our website and in the link below. I will see you guys in another video very, very soon. As you can see, I am on a great streak of posting videos about every 2 weeks, and I'm going to do everything I can to keep that up for you. See you soon.